Welcome to part 2 of last week's episode, Fireside Chat. This week we'll be dealing with questions regarding repertoire. So last week we did part 1, which pertained to general topics. This week we're dealing with specific questions about repertoire. I hope you enjoy it. So you sent amazing questions. Inga sent from South Africa, asked the foot positions, and I'm assuming the leg positions, in the high swan, on the F2/Avalon step barrel, and the F2 chair. Should they be in external rotation or parallel, and why? So Inga, I went back to check the pictures on both, and both are in parallel. So the high swan on the F2 chair and the F2 spine corrector is using the handles to come up into that very high supported position. Certainly one of my favorite exercises. You can truly utilize and maximize that spinal articulation into back extension. You've got the support of the handles, and both are done in parallel. Why? There's nothing wrong with external rotation. In fact, much of our back extension is in external rotation of the hip joint, and that's why I decided for those two to be in a parallel position. The parallel position tends to work the hamstrings more, and the externally rotated position tends to recruit the gluteals more. The hamstrings will work, but there will be more gluteal activation. So by going into parallel, we're maximizing the work of the hamstrings. It's a little different to some of the other swans which necessitate external rotation. For instance, the swan that we learn in the comprehensive course on the ladder barrel. That has to be in external rotation because of the way the feet are placed on the ladder. So this is a refreshing break from that. I will add one thing, that the external, I'm not even going to go there today. It leads me into another discussion. I will just touch on it. The opening, how far the legs can open. Just remember, in all these back extensions, we're recruiting the hip adductors, trying to keep the legs together, but of course they will and they want to separate due to the pelvis moving, and the wider the pelvis is, the more the legs will want to separate. We should never tie the legs together, but we use the adductors to try and keep the legs as close as possible. Thanks for that question, Inga. I hope it answered it for you. From Sherry, the setup for the scissors and the bicycle, whether we do the rollover and then do we go into the supported position with bent legs or straight legs. From what I remember in the last summit, we decided to do it with straight legs. I actually, for years in my mat classes, would go over into the rollover, regular rollover, then bend the knees and ball, take the body into a ball shape as I support the pelvis. The legs are bent in that supported position, and then straighten the legs to the ceiling. For some reason, I thought that we had decided to do it with straight legs, so I've been making an effort to go over with straight legs, support the pelvis, and then straight up with straight legs. That is much more difficult. So in reviewing the books again, it's not absolutely clear from the pictures, but it is clear from the text that I say bent knees. So let's do that. We will go over in a rollover, regular rollover, legs to 90 degrees in the hip joint, rolling over with straight legs. Bend the knees toward the chest as you place the hands under the pelvis, and then roll the ball onto the hands, and then from there straighten the legs straight up to the ceiling. We will describe that better in the text. It's an easier version. It's a difficult exercise. Why not let's make it easier for the students to achieve it? And the pictures will demonstrate that as well. So great question. Thank you, Sherry. We bend the legs, roll the pelvis like a bowl, holding a bowl into our hands, and then straighten the legs up to the ceiling. Sherry also asked about the boomerang hand positions. Great question. As we're rolling down into that BASI rock, as we're going down into that BASI rock, we have the palms facing each other. Palms facing each other. Just like your regular roll up, roll down, palms facing each other, arms facing each other. As you transition into the roll over phase, the arms go flat onto the floor, palms facing down, so that we can use the shoulder extensors more effectively. We do our rollover, switch legs, roll back, palms are still facing down on the floor, using our shoulder extensors to support us. And then as you start your roll up into your teaser, that's where the arms transition again to face each other, and you go up into your teaser with the palms facing each other. So there is a transition. Thank you for mentioning that. I hope it's clear when you transition to separate types of exercises. The one that's more like a roll up, roll down, teaser, palms facing each other. The other, the rollover, palms down, pressing into the floor. Thank you for that great question. From Kelly the saw, Kelly Milton the saw. The saw, I know we changed it, and the reason we changed it, and I've asked Stella to go wide for this, the exercise didn't change, Kelly. It's really just emphasizing certain points in the exercise. So we do our spine twist. We rotate. The one arm comes forward, the other goes back. At this point, actually, the palms are facing each other, with the one arm behind you, the other arm in front of you. You go down. We come up to this L-shaped position and back to center. Because what was happening, Kelly, people were just doing some kind of fuzzy movement, and we wanted to make it very clear. So again, we've got this spine twist, and here the arms are clearly in a T position. There are really only 2 or 3 positions of the arms. This wide T position. We then go down with the palms facing each other, facing inwards towards the body. We come up to an L shape. You can see this L shape, and on that and, you take this front arm from the L to the T and then back to center. So it's inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. Inhale, palms facing the body. Inhale, and exhale. I hope that explains it. A little difficult in my chair, but I hope you got the meaning of that and. It's that and remember to come up in an L shape and L shape and then to center. But the movement didn't change. We are just highlighting or pausing in a certain point. Natasha asked about, and forgive me for this one, that the control balance is under spinal articulation and the jackknife under bridging. I don't know exactly how that jackknife got under bridging. I don't know. I remember something vaguely about it, but anyway, I've checked Pilates anatomy and my other texts, and both those exercises, control balance and jackknife, should be under spinal articulation. So, and that is the jackknife and the control balance in all its manifestations, whether on the mat, on the reformer, wonder chair, in all its manifestations. In the honors program, I'll be teaching a different control balance on some other equipment. So in all their manifestations, the control balance and the jackknife, spinal articulation. From Ashley: when evaluating students with physical limitations, what is your deciding factor on demonstrations that make an exercise pass or fail? Ashley, such a difficult question to answer, honestly. Because yes, we want the students to know the exercises. We are testing their knowledge of the exercise. But not everyone can perform an exercise at that very, very high level. And yet it doesn't mean that they cannot be good teachers. So it's very tough, and there's a gray area. And I always say the easiest is either when a student is clearly doing it beautifully, and I love giving that 90 or pass, and it's also okay if a student clearly doesn't know it and the decision is clear. They know it, you know it, they don't pass. It's that gray area where you're on the fence. So the things that I look for is, does their performance demonstrate knowledge? Their choreography, are they doing the correct choreography? Is it perfect? No. But is it showing knowledge of the exercise? The next thing is, does their demonstration and their performance of the exercise demonstrate and display practice? Have they practiced? I cannot tell you the number of people that come in and you can see they are winging it, meaning they have clearly not practiced. They just threw the dice and decided, I'm going to come in and try and just give it a try, give it a chance. Maybe I'll throw the dice, maybe I'll get an exercise that I do well, maybe I won't, but clearly they haven't practiced. Yet others, you can see they have practiced and practiced the roll-up. It's the bane of their life. They've practiced it. They know it well. They know the breath pattern. They bring the arms to the correct position, head to the correct position. And maybe they ask you, could I drape a weight over my leg because my back is so tight, my body type doesn't allow me to do the roll-up. They clearly understand why they cannot do it, but they are unable to do it. The teaser, whatever it may be. Do they understand? Is the breath pattern correct? Now, I want to tell you that if everything else is really good and the breath pattern is not correct, I will point it out, but I'm not going to fail someone because of a breath pattern if everything else looks good. Now, if the breath pattern is just one of many things that don't look good, yes, they're not going to pass. And I would bring their attention to it, but the breath pattern in and of itself is not going to make me fail someone. Do they understand the exercise? Ashley, that's where the discussion comes in later. And often, I actually, if I'm truly on the fence, I take it so to heart. I will agonize over it for a night or two. I will speak to the other examiner about it. I will get feedback. We used to film all the testing. We haven't done that in the last few years because it's so difficult to focus on everyone at the same time. However, sometimes I will just, if I'm on the fence, I'll film that particular exercise and look at it again and again. But I also discuss it afterwards in that little workshop discussion session. And I'll see if they understand the exercise. And very importantly, do they take critique and criticism well? If they are shut down to my input, it's a clear sign for me, and I'm telling you now, that is often, well, not often, it doesn't happen that often, but in some cases, that is what will sway me this way or that. Are they ready to take critique or are they not? And if they just try and make excuses for everything, don't take critique, well, that may sway me to saying they're not ready. They're not even listening. They're not even hearing what I'm saying. And I know that person is not ready. Some people take it to the point where I will speak openly about it, because this is a true case where I was actually sued, legally sued, for not passing someone. I mean, to what have we sunk? Luckily I had so much documentation of my communications with this person, explaining exactly, and so much documentation from that examination that this person's attorney dropped it. But look at that, the depths that people will sink and the lengths that they will go to prove that they are right. I hope that helps a little bit.